Hello. Today I'm going to show you how to do the PCA wall crawl, or wall crawls I guess, in Metroid Prime. This skips needing X-ray visor for PCA, so it's a pretty big wall crawl. Can be very huge in randomizer races. And I've seen it come up a few times this tournament, so I wanted to make a sort of detailed tutorial on how to do this for anybody that can do out of bounds. Both these wall crawls are relatively easy that I'm going to be showing you, and I suggest learning both of them. They can be really helpful in tournament matches or just general races. So this wall crawl can be done from either MQB to PCA or from Omega Research to PCA. And so I'm going to start by showing you from MQB, and then I'll show Omega Research later on in the video. And also I have show load triggers, so you'll be able to see the load triggers, but in the actual game you don't, so make sure you know where they are. The first thing you need to do is make your way over to this side of MQB. If you're going from MQB, then you need to hit this load trigger. It's really easy. It's massive load trigger. Then we got to go out of bounds. There's a small ledge on this we can stand on, and then do an R jump over to here, and then we can get on to this thing, which is standable, and then we need to jump basically through here to get out of bounds. However, there's a little invisible wall that extends about this high, so do use your space jump quickly and you'll make it over it, and then you'll fall out of bounds. And then we need to get into this corner and do some aether jumps. So the corner of the aether box. The aether box lines up with like about that little yellow dot you see in there, and then the edge of like this bulge in the wall. So it might take a little bit to learn where the corner is at, but it's not too bad. And then I need to get a jump. Please, game. Alright. Oh, or not. Okay, I did. Alright. Once you're in the aether, we're gonna do some aether jumps. And we want to get pretty high with these. Just enough to be able to jump over to the door from here. We don't have to land exactly on the door. We do want to land in the general vicinity, just on this platform. And then bomb jump over to this like line thingy here, which is standable, and then we can jump onto the door. Nope, and then we'll transition. And then this thing, this little arch is standable, so it's this arch right here. And then anywhere around this little circular bucket thing, and also this one too, are both standable. And from here we can just jump up and get into the aether that way. And then we have to hit the Elite Quarters load trigger because it's not currently loaded. MQB still is. We need to hit the load trigger. So what I like to do is come outside of the aether box of this room and then morph down a little bit. Line yourself up with this little cog and then hold L and forward until you hit the wall, and then you'll fall down. And then you might get stuck in the wall. If you get stuck in the wall, just morph and unmorph real fast. If you don't and you just fall down, then you're at the bottom. You'll always be at the bottom here. And then we need to do more aether jumps in the corner. You can sort of line yourself up with the corners by looking at the mini map. And then I was in the corner right there. Do some aether jumps in this corner, just until we hit the top of the room, which is not very high up. We're right here. And then, like I said, anywhere around these little buckets is standable. So I like to just morph down because Elite Quarters aether box does extend a little bit into this room, and that can make it a little bit hard to just fall onto the door. So I like to land there, jump onto the door. Then once we transition, just jump down onto the bottom of the aether. Make sure you don't fall too far down, because if you're in this rings box, you fall way underneath. And then you're going to want to avoid this second green box here. This first one is fine, but make sure you avoid this. This is Omega Pirate's fight trigger, and if you hit it, it's not good. Don't hit that load trigger. Don't hit that trigger. Then we also need to do more aether jumps in this corner. So Corner lines up with sort of that bulge in the wall right there, and then basically just the door. And so here we are. Okay, we're in the corner. And we can do some, oh my gosh, we can do some aether jumps. And so our goal with these jumps is to get pretty high, but not quite to the top of the room. We want to be basically the height of the door, the PCA, if not a little bit higher. So this is a good height right here. And then you're going to want to get up plasma beam. And then, shoot, this door might need to be a little bit lower. We're going to go ahead and do a door to get in. We can afford to force load this room. And so, be careful. The aether box extends a little bit out past the door. Just inch your way up forward, and eventually the room will load around you. Just like that. And then we can transition to PCA. And then we can pick up the item. And be on our way.
Okay, so coming from Omega Research then, before we actually even start the wall crawl, you need to have killed the pirate in Elite Control. You have to kill the Elite Pirate here, otherwise you crash when you try to do the wall crawl. Also, as a side note, this wall crawl specifically is only possible in Rando, and that's because the trigger for to load elite quarters going through PCA only exists once you've lowered the gate, but in Rando it exists all the time. So if you are doing this on a vanilla game, you have to have lowered the gate in PCA for it to work, but you do not in Rando, which you can do this in the vanilla game, but you have to lower those gates first. And you don't in Rando, which makes it a lot more useful. And so, to get started, well, actually let me turn on load triggers here. This will be helpful to show load triggers for the tutorial. You want to get over onto this rubble. It's the first step. Then you are going to want to jump up here onto this little knob thing. It's a pretty big standable, so you shouldn't have much trouble with that. And then you need to jump in between the wall and these pipes. And as soon as you land, you're going to want to morph, just like this. You need to morph as soon as you land, otherwise you'll get repositioned and you'll fall down to the bottom of the room. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a double bomb jump, and I'm not going to touch the left stick at all. Touching the left stick can kind of mess things up. This slope will just push you up here anyways. Then you're going to turn around and you're just going to walk off this ledge. And you will fall out of bounds. So there you go. Very easy secret world. But then we need to actually do the wall crawl. So we're going to have to do some aether jumps. We need to get into the corner. The corner lines up pretty much perfectly with that door. And it lines up pretty well with that door over there as well. So once I get a jump, we'll do some aether jumps. Your goal with these is to get a little bit more, like a little bit higher than the height of the door to vent shaft. So you're trying to get just a little bit above the door to vent shaft. And I will get there in 1 second. Here we go. So then you're just going to come over here and you're going to get onto the door. Okay, I messed this up. You need to get onto the door, though. It's pretty easy. I don't even know how I messed that up. Anyway, once you're on this door, we need to transition and load this room, vent shaft. but you'll notice it's not loaded yet. And that's a good thing, because when vent shaft is loaded, its collision actually overlaps these doors and makes it impossible to transition the room from out of bounds. So what we have to do instead is we have to shoot the door, jump down here to force load, and then you're gonna come and stand like right over here, just barely out in the aether, so that when the room loads, the collision will load around you, and that's gonna push you upward, and that upward momentum will also transition the room. So you're gonna do this. Jump down, stand over here, boom, pushes you up and transitions you. And so that will load vent shaft. Now you'll notice you can't transition once vent shaft is loaded because that collision is overlapping the door. Now I just happened to get lucky and this room secretized itself. So it went invisible as soon as I loaded vent shaft. There's a chance that won't happen though. And so what you need to do if that doesn't happen is you need to shoot this door. You kind of have to like get over here and see, there you go, I shot it. And then you just jump down to the side and that'll make it go invisible. And you have to do that, otherwise you will crash when you load elite control up here in a second. So now we need to make our way through vent shaft. And to do that, you're just going to get on this seam. It's all standable. You just walk all the way forward until you hit a wall. You can jump forward again. And then do a double jump on top of this fan. And then you're going to do an R jump forward until you reach the aether. So I got a pretty good height here. If you didn't get enough height, there's a corner right around here that you can do some aether jumps in if you're not high enough, but I'm actually probably a little bit higher than what we'd want to be. So I'm going to drop down just a little bit. Probably about here is good. I'm going to shoot the door and I'm going to get close. Elite control will load. If you did not secretize Omega Research, your game will crash when you load Elite Control. If you didn't kill the pirate in Elite Control, your game will also crash as soon as you load it. So you need to make sure you do both of those things so that you don't crash. Now, transitioning is also a little bit difficult because this is a vertical door. And these are a bit weird to transition from out of bounds. So basically what we have to do is we just have to get really close to the door, and then we have to morph and unmorph, and the room should transition. However, we need to be as centered as possible in the door, so about right here. Otherwise, if you're too far to the left or to the right here when you're doing this, the door will reposition you, and you'll basically get sandwiched in between the roof of Elite Control and the floor of vent shaft, and it's basically impossible to get out. So you really don't want that to happen. But you're gonna get here, morph and unmorph, and there you go. The room just transitioned. Now we're on Elite Control, and so now we're kind of stuck in a little collision box around here. But there's a small hole we can jump out of right over here. There's a small hole in the collision, and we're going to jump out of that, and we're going to come down here, and we're going to land on this door. The door to maintenance tunnel. If you didn't land onto the door, you can just jump up onto it from the aether floor. Then what we're going to do is we're just going to force load this room. This will work even if you don't secretize vent shaft, which I just accidentally did up there. Now we're gonna try and jump onto this tunnel. If you miss this jump, it's not the end of the world. It's just a little bit faster if you make it. But I can't seem to be making it. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I made it. Oh no, I didn't. Okay. If you don't make it, it's not a big deal because you just have to get over here anyways, and you're gonna do an aether jump off the aether floor and just get up onto this section of the tunnel, which is the goal. If you do end up landing on this tunnel, you're gonna walk along it, you're gonna jump past this rubble, and you're gonna land around about here. And I'm gonna try and just get up on this tunnel. This tunnel everywhere is standable on this tunnel. And then you're gonna get as close to this rubble as you can, which is right next to this load trigger. This green thing is a load trigger. And then I'm just gonna jump down to the side of it and hit the load trigger. And so you can test if you hit it just by shooting over here. If you're hitting something, that means you hit the load trigger. Then you're gonna jump along this tunnel, and then you're gonna jump over to the door and transition to PPC. Now we're in PPC, and we just have to get down to PCA. That's all we have to do. It's pretty simple. All these seams along these little like edge morph ball tunnel areas are all standable, so you can just work your way along there. And then once you're over here, you are going to just jump down to right here. This is standable, and you jump down here instead of onto the door, because if you jump straight onto the door, you might miss the load trigger. Jumping here, you're ensuring that you'll hit it. And then you're going to come transition to PCA, and we just have a little bit left to do. We're going to try and jump onto a standable that's about right there. There we go. And then you can use your space jump and get up onto the Aether ceiling. Then this second is the load trigger for elite quarters, and so what we're going to do is we're going to hit it, and then we're just going to keep moving very fast, because that's going to start loading elite quarters, but we want to have elite quarters load around us. So we're just going to hold forward, and then once we get to about where elite quarters is, you're going to morph and then unmorph fairly quickly, and you should have elite quarters load around you, and you'll be right next to the door, just like this. Hit the load trigger, morph, unmorph, room loads, we're inbounds, and there we go. You can pick up our PCA E-Tank. If you're playing rando, you would go ahead and just scan this and leave, probably, because you can't go backwards through lower mines. Unfortunately, you're almost immediately blocked off by the ice over there. But this can still be very helpful if you just want to pick up PCA. It's also a little bit faster. It's about 30 seconds faster than going through lower mines if you only need to fight OP. This wall crawl can save you time there as well. I hope both of these wall crawls are helpful to you. Hopefully this tutorial did a fairly good job. And yeah, not much else to say, but peace.